vibes. The opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Cunanan. Now, on this show, we talk about everything under the sun. And you know, guys, for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we've been having a special series here called Ghost Protocol Paranormal Investigations, where we try to discover and explore the world of the supernatural. I tell you that the response to this show, or this series of shows, is so great that we here in Philippines Uncut believe that it would not be complete without having a third series, a third installment to this series on related topics like witchcraft, tarot cards, spells, curses, and crystal healing. And witchcraft is a very sensitive topic in the Philippines. It's a very interesting topic. While in this country, many people believe that it does exist and practiced. To openly suggest that it actually exists is to risk being labeled strange, deviant, perhaps even comical, definitely weird. So what is witchcraft all about? Is it a good or bad thing? What are curses? What are spells? Do these things really exist? Joining us tonight to help us understand this world and to find out really what is the truth behind the myth are two gentlemen. One of my first guest is a regular in Philippines Uncut, Mr. Nick Nangit, who is a spirit quester. And joining him is Mr. Julius Nikia, who is a Wiccan and crystal healer. Now, introductions first, guys. Nick has been here twice already. But for those tuning in now to Philippines Uncut for the first time, please introduce yourself.
Briefly, well, I've mentioned that before. I'm a tax consultant and also a concert pianist. So
yeah.
That.
And a spirit quester,
spirit quester,
of course.
yes.
Of course. And how long have you been
with a spirit quester? Since 2006.
Okay.
2004, yeah, up to 2010 or 11 when it was disbanded. So,
okay.
yes.
And Julius? Julius?
Yeah, I'm a practitioner of the esoteric arts and mysticism and magic. So since I was high school, I've been studying things about the paranormal and parapsychology, all of that. And then lately, I've been so much fascinated with crystals. So I'm now specializing on crystals.
Now, I introduced you as a Wiccan. What is a Wiccan? What is Wiccan?
Wicca is actually, well, it's famous to be known as the modern witchcraft. But witchcraft is just part of Wicca, because Wicca is actually a spirituality. It's a nature-based spirituality, and it's modern because it was just popularized by Gerald Gardner, I think, 80s or 70s. But the main principles in Wicca is based on the ancient religion of paganism, where people used to worship nature, where they all believe that everything around us is alive. And they see God in nature, so that's why they honor and worship nature. And part of the belief is and since we are part of nature, so it also studies the nature of man, the nature of the universe and the nature of man, how we can utilize our own abilities and power. So that's how witchcraft comes in, because witchcraft is such one way on how to tap your inherent powers
And energies.
Yes.
Now, why is it called Wicca? Is it an abbreviation for some, or for a certain name or a set of names? Why is it called Wicca?
Well, different researchers about that name actually have some debates, but basically Wicca comes from I think Celtic.
Yes,
word.
Celtic
Witche,
tradition.
Okay.
which is why.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, Celtic tradition, very alive, right?
Yes.
The practice of
Practices of the Druids,
Druids,
actually
yeah.
are one of the forerunners of today's modern witchcraft.
No, Nick, before we talk witchcraft, let's define it first. Because when people say witchcraft, it automatically means,
Something
very negative, very
Yeah.
scary. Like
Well, actually, witchcraft it's a way of life. It's being attuned to your inner potential and being attuned also and one with nature. So that is essentially what witchcraft is. It's not good or bad. So it's a misconception what has been propagated through media that witchcraft is negative or it's bad. In fact, some witches have been interviewed on air and typecast as weird or lacking
yes.
attention
Or
or
really
probably
grotesque or
psychotic,
like
or
a
grotesque.
movie.
But if you look at us, I don't think we look like
No.
anything gruesome. Yes.
In fact, the video we had before the show came on was from The Craft,
Yes,
which is a cult classic already.
That's true.
Really about witchcraft.
Yes.
And it came out about maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yes, yes.
But very popular with a certain segment of the
Yes.
viewing public, huh?
Yes.
To say.
That's a very good movie.
Yes. Now, what was the origin of witchcraft? When did it start?
It cannot be really traced because, as I mentioned, it's a way of life. So it has been practiced even before, because there are many animists or those who are pagans who have been communing with nature and using everything that nature has provided us, herbs, to enhance their potentials or to cast spells or to do chantings. So it's really very old. I don't think there's somebody who can really trace the origin of witchcraft. Although in America, it was traced to the migration from Europe.
Yes.
In the discovery of the New World.
Yes,
And in fact, Salem has been associated with evil
Of
witchcraft.
course, and
Yes.
vampires and
Yes. Yes.
a lot of stuff. Now, for you guys are both admitted,
Witches.
acknowledged witches.
Yes.
Would
Wizards.
you call yourselves witches, or what is the difference between a witch and a wizard?
Well, witches apply to both male and female, but
Okay.
wizards a wizard is the proper term for male witch.
Okay. Now, how come there's such a negative connotation when you say witch? Where did it start? As you said, it's not
Yeah.
bad. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It's
Yeah.
going to be a good thing. As you said, also tapping the energy, communing with nature. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yes.
So how come, Julius? How come this thing got like a negative connotation?
Well, like what Nick said, it can't. The history of witchcraft cannot be traced because it's actually an ancient practice of the people before. It The negative connotation just started when, you know, when the Christians went to went to conquer people, and since that's the original practice of the people, they've been, you know, regarded by Christians as evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, many of the traditions or practices of Christians today have their origins in witchcraft.
For example?
Yeah. Or have their origins in the practices of the Druids.
Yes.
For example, mistletoes during Christmas.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
You hang a mistletoe
Yes,
and
yes.
then actually you can kiss
It has
the person.
origins
underneath.
in the practices of witches.
Yeah.
And there's so many others. There's so many others.
I think that's part of the propaganda of the Christians before, to get the affection of the pagans, because they have to blend in with the tradition. So what they did, so they patterned their own traditions to the rituals and the traditions of the Asian people.
Assimilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And you know,
assimilation.
during the Middle Ages and even the Dark Ages,
Yes.
really, there was a lot of persecution of witches,
Yes,
and
that's
people
true.
were burned at the Joan of Arc.
Yes.
For instance,
Yes.
one of the most widely,
Yes.
you know, very famous personality in history was burned at the stake,
Yeah,
right?
and also
For being a
and-
witch,
yes, and
because she was
also-
hearing voices,
yeah.
right? And
there's also another personality, Elizabeth of Hungary. I think she's also one of those who was persecuted.
yes, I guess it was a clash also of religion
Yes,
and
that's true.
and this practice where people couldn't understand
Yes.
where these things were coming from, and you know they blame people
Yes.
who practiced witchcraft for plague.
I believe
for
it has
bad,
something
bad
to do
things.
with, you know, in psychology, it has to do also with fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
When you are afraid of something that you don't know, you immediately brand it as something evil.
And you look for escape for
Yes,
someone or
that's
something to
true.
blame.
Right.
Yes. Now, let's talk about the Philippines. I have a diplomat friend
Okay.
who I met at a party recently, and he had in his pocket a little red book, which he told me were verses, holy verses from the Quran.
Quran.
And so I asked him, why do you have this thing in your pocket, this little book? And he said, well, my wife, when she heard I was being posted to the Philippines, she gave it to me. I asked, why did your wife give you a little book just because you're coming to the Philippines, with Quranic verses? And he told me that it's because his wife said the Philippines is one of the hot spots or the centers in the world for witch.
That's
And
true.
this little book was supposed to protect him from some
Yes.
stuff
Yes,
going on,
yes.
and for being a victim.
Yeah.
Basically. So is that true?
Yes.
Because I've heard about Africa, I've heard about
Yes.
Morocco, I've heard
Right.
about Haiti and things
Right.
like that. Is it true that the Philippines is really
Yes, it's
a
true.
center?
Yes, in fact, not only the practitioners of Wicca think that the Philippines is one of the centers or the hotspots, but even the some Christian practitioners say that the Philippines will be the New Jerusalem. Well, because the level of spirituality in our country is very high. It's really very high compared to the rest of the world. And besides, there are certain places in the Philippines that attract peculiar energies.
I mean, as a layperson, I can think of two already. Banahaw, and of course, the most famous of which place of them all, Siquijor.
Siquijor, that's true.
May katuhanan ba tungkol dito? Is there truth to these places?
Yes, yes. In Siquijor, there's so many babarangs, right? And mangkukulams.
Yes, and there is a particular tribe there. Well, they call it tribes. They call it the Subanon tribe, and they are used for their lason. So they put something in your drinks. So some people would actually warn you when you go to Siquijor, be careful of things, of the food that are being offered.
But it's true. I went to Siquijor before, and I was a skeptic. I am kind of a skeptic, and when I went there, some people were saying, if you buy beer or something, make sure it's open in front of you.
Yes.
Because is there truth to this? Where is the proof? Okay, guys, tell me, where is the proof that this thing actually exists?
Yeah, because witches do practice by mixing herbs and doing chants, meaning saying things or whatever they cast. Like here, I brought this one, Belladonna. Okay, it's really poisonous.
Hold it up, Nick.
Yeah.
Can you hold it up
Yeah,
so
this
that
one.
our viewers can zoom in on it? So
Yeah.
it's a green, it's a little vial with green
Yes.
granules. I think.
Right, green granules.
What is that, Nick? Belladonna. What is
It's
belladonna?
being used for spells,
Okay.
but it's very potent. So it enhances to a very high level or degree the spell that is being cast. And Julius earlier asked me where I got this. So I said it's a secret. It cannot just be brought into the country. So anyway, so that's poison. So that can be used by this Sikihor, although it's not available here.
Yeah.
But they do put something also in drinks. That's why it's be careful what you eat.
No, but Nick, where's the proof that this thing really exists? I think that spells are for real. Are they for real?
Yes, they are for real.
Okay.
One that many people relate to easily is church hymns.
Okay.
Many do not know that church hymns are a form of chanting.
Yes.
It's a form of casting spells. So surprisingly, right? Who would believe that by singing a church hymn, you're casting a spell?
So what are the components of spells? You belladonna, you talk about chanting. Are these separate or are they used together, chanting and all these ingredients?
They're used together.
Okay.
Yeah, together. You mix whatever herbs. I wasn't able to bring a dal, which I did use before, for love potion.
Love potion.
Yeah, I had to put some herbs inside.
Does it really
Yes,
work? Really,
yes,
a
it
love
worked.
potion. There, because it's funny. The mythology. That supposedly a god gave some love potion, made the lover drink it, and this woman fell in love with him. So stories like that. No?
Yes.
There is such a thing in your craft as love potion.
Yes. Actually, you can create the environment or the mood
Yeah.
for enhancing love, but you cannot really force a person to fall with you. You cannot do that. Yeah.
Dito sa Pilipinas, which are the most common spells? Because we hear about this, everyone in this country has heard of the word Coulomb, diba? Kinulam yan. And
Yeah.
although kind of dismiss it, a lot of people dismiss it now as mumbo jumbo or superstitious nonsense. No?
Right.
Ano yung mga Coulomb? What are the Coulombs? Coulombs are spells.
Yes,
No?
yes.
Now, what are the most common Coulombs here? It always has a negative connotation when you say Coulomb. Why is that?
Well, two that I can think of earlier, I mentioned is love spells, but it is taking vengeance, right? Revenge, and that's the evil.
Especially here in the Philippines. Alam mo yun,
Right.
yung the Filipino character to say, yung nagtatanim ng galit
Yes.
or having
Have you done?
yeah.
Maybe have you done?
Regarding Filipino witchcraft, because I was also fascinated by Filipino witchcraft. I started with Western, and then I came to realize that we also have that here in the Philippines. So I started to study our own witchcraft, and then I discovered that here in the Philippines we have certain practices depending on what region you are located. So you will trace back our origins. We have the lands, we have the ancient practices,
Okay.
and then lately, if we speak of Coulombs, we also have a witchcraft. We call that lihim na karunungan or LNK. And when we speak of LNK, basically using orations or the power words. They would usually use Latin words. Or
Sometimes
not
not.
purely
To cast a
Latin.
spell, to cast a spell for it, yeah.
You will look on their libretas because each manggagamot or each makukulam, they have a book. So and
What the
then
Westerner the Book of Shadows,
Yeah.
but for us it's a libreta.
yeah.
Right.
How can you cast a spell or curse? How can this affect someone when it's just words? Let's say if someone just says
Oh,
something. How
You see, before
how does it work?
anything materializes in the physical world, it is always a thought form. So before a was invented, it has already existed in the astral plane. So in the same manner, if you try to cast a spell, you're actually generating energy already in the astral
So
level.
it's all about energy.
Yes, it's all
energy
about
transference
energy.
and
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
So even just by thinking something will happen.
Yes.
And a lot of people when they're angry,
Yes.
they sometimes wish, sad to say, wish ill others without really meaning it. No.
Yes. And
In
also,
your practice, is this dangerous? Like
Yes.
if you will harm on someone.
yeah, and not only that, we have this famous line, be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
Right?
yes.
Because they do happen. Because thought processes are very powerful. The humans have tapped the full potential.
And when we speak about thought forms, it's all coming in the mind. The mind is very powerful.
It's true.
And You know, modern psychologists have always emphasized the power of the mind. You know, the secret. It's based. This is the power of your mind, the power of the law of attraction. It's all mind. Your own mind can create reality. And when we speak of witchcraft, those paraphernalias are only tools to tap or to help your mind focus of what your intention is. So by simply lighting a candle, you're already doing a spell, because the candle could help your mind focus your intention.
Okay. What about charges or accusations or not charges that with the witchcraft is, let's say, if the church, for instance, frowns on this, and some would suggest that it comes from the other side, it comes from the evil one.
Yeah.
What do you guys have to say about that?
Well, much of the information that is being propagated is based on lack of knowledge, and it's so difficult to counteract what the other people say. But we know for sure that these are effective because we have used it and it has affected our lives also. I mentioned in an earlier episode that when I was about 5 years old, it was innate in me. I was bullied in school, right? I think I mentioned that. And I cast a spell, and they got sick. So for 1 week, they were sick for some unknown reason. So things like that.
Julius, you have any experiences like that? Where I mean, when did you find you were actually a wizard/witch? Come early? Did you realize
Well,
early
since
on?
childhood, I have a lot of questions that my own religion cannot answer. So and I don't want to fear this thing. So of course, the only cure for fear is knowledge. So if you know something, then your fear will be gone. So and when I study these things, I also discovered my own abilities and shared it to other people. Tried it myself. Even
Tried it
cast
yourself?
spells. Yeah.
I'm just curious, what kind of spell have you cast? If you can share like, something which is for general patronage. Or?
When I came into witchcraft, I was tied to Wicca, to the tradition of Wicca. And in Wicca, we have this saying, or we call that the Wiccan read. If it harm none, do what you will. So the spells that is allowed in Wicca are the things that could help yourself, like for prosperity, for protection.
Okay.
So that's basically all of the spells that that I was doing. So to attract prosperity.
And it really did manifest.
It works.
You know, if I may add,
Sure.
it's not the chants and the herbs, but it makes it more potent. The spell is more potent if you put bodily fluids.
No, there's always that thing when you
Yes,
see
blood.
movies about witchcraft. There's
Right.
always blood.
Right.
I mean, piercing the
Right.
finger and
Yes. And
Why is that? How come?
it's an extension of yourself. An extension of yourself. So whatever is part of you
And
becomes
inside
part
you
of
comes
it.
from inside you. Then
Comes
it really
inside, yeah.
magnifies really
Right,
whatever is going on there.
That's
Yes, and in some way, caster, you know, that thing they get from the person,
Yes.
it
Like a
helps
hair,
the
strand of
caster
hair.
focus his attention to that person. So the spell would be directly.
What about people use this for not for good?
Okay. Yeah, it can be used
Yes.
for something that is not good. But as Julius mentioned earlier, harm none, right? Because I believe in karma. And you know, karma is actually law of cause and effect. Whatever you do, come back to you. So what goes around comes around. So if you do something bad, then expect that something will be taken from you.
Yes, and when you do a spell, and when you cast a spell, it's your own energy that you are using, that you are giving out. And since it's your own energy, it will come back to you.
So if it's negative that you throw
Yes,
out,
it will come back to
then
you.
something
That's true.
will ultimately redound back to you.
Right, right. That's why in media, in the movies, if you see these witches clad in black, they remain ugly because
Because what they're doing is
yes,
is
it's
evil,
right,
basically.
right.
And the wizards were supposed to be good, like Gandalf.
Yeah, and
Gandalf the Grey or
right.
Gandalf the
And if
White.
since you mentioned the craft, that story, the female lead character remained beautiful until the end. In fact,
Yes.
her mother was also beautiful, and they're good practitioners.
Interesting. Guys, hold that thought. A lot more to come. So we have to pause for a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about tarot cards, crystals, healing, and a lot other things more. So don't go away.